how people pleasing, FOMO about getting the job, and your idea about other people's budgets are actually sabotaging your business growth and profitability. Today, we're going to cover all that and more in this pricing masterclass. Let's jump in. I grew up as a pleaser and a facilitator and a yes, ma'am, and no, sir, and making sure everybody was happy. And that has served me well and also not. Like there are a lot of patterns I've had to unlearn. Money issues were always a thing too. Like we can't afford, there's not enough money. However, there were good things that came from that too, because my mom could literally create money out of thin air, as so many moms from the 40s, 50s, and 60s had to do if they wanted to stay home. She took her skills, she turned them into cash, and she repeated that. And I saw it over and over again. So she was probably my first business influence. She would say she doesn't have a business bone in her body, but I always knew I'd be an entertainer. I knew I'd be on stage, but I really thought I'd be a musician instead of a speaker. My dad says I'm a preacher, but just better paid, a little less Bible, a little more business. You have to know that you're good at what you do, and you have to be willing to charge for being good at what you do. Otherwise, people don't appreciate it. Free books people send me are still in the envelopes. The books that I pay for in order are the ones I read first. And so it's been a lot of retraining and relearning as far as how to price myself and what I'm worth and all those kind of things. And I even hate to use the word worth because we have so many different nuances to that word. What I will say is this: I no longer charge based on what I'm delivering. I charge based on the deliverance I provide. What are you delivering your client from? It's not about the stacks of books or the modules or the classes or the hours or the whatever. They're paying you for deliverance. So what are you delivering them from? If you're an entertainer, you're delivering them from boredom, from angst, from depression, from those moments. I think Jim Carrey says like you're suspending their belief and they're taking everything off their shoulders for a few minutes. But what are you delivering them from? So whether you're a coach or a doctor or somebody in ministry or a teacher, what are you delivering them from? When you think of it that way, it's so much easier to price it, because I can't charge you for hours. Like you can't, there's no way you could price a keynote speech per hour, because it's taken me a few decades to get the experience that I have in order to deliver that keynote speech. It's not about that hour. It's about the whole lifetime and the experience and the perspectives and all those kind of things. So that's the number one core thing I would say that I've learned, that I've taught myself. Those tapes we have in our head of where our moms or our brothers, like my three brothers are like, I can't believe people pay you to talk when we paid you for years to shut up. Like it's teachers my whole life. If Carrie ever focused on one thing, if Carrie would stop visiting with her neighbor next to her, then she might be more into the assignment that we're doing. All of those tapes we have in our head. Guess what? Here's some freedom, friends. Write this down. They are not your audience. They were not ever going to hire you. They are not ever going to hire you. It's okay if they think that. My brothers will call me now for business advice, but it took them a long time to get there. But they still don't understand why I get paid what I get paid to go talk in front of an audience of 5,000. Although, would they ever go do that? Nope. That's one reason we get paid to do that, right, Harris? Because there's a lot of people that you couldn't pay them enough to do that. But you've got to quit repeating those things in your head. And I'll tell you this, my mom had some of those same kind of things, like who would listen to you? What are you going to talk about? Those kind of things. But now my mom will say, Carrie, I've always admired how brave you are. And I've always been threatened by the fact that I just couldn't do what you do. And she had never verbalized that to me before. She was always second guessing, always very critical, but it's because she was trying to protect me. She was trying to protect me. So people that seem to be squelching your dreams, if they're people that love you, sometimes they're just trying to protect you or protect themselves, and they're projecting. And so you can't let that be in your head about your pricing or about what you're going to pursue, because they're not your audience. None of my three brothers have ever heard me give a speech, ever. I'm redoing my master bathroom, and if someone else were doing it for me, they would come in and say, what do you want done? I want this, 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 and this. They're not going to charge me per hour. They're going to charge me for the finished bathroom. They bring in 10 people and finish it in 1 or 2 days. Or if they do it by themselves and take 2 weeks, then I say, oh, that's a nice price per hour. Truth is, I'd rather pay them more to have it done in 1 or 2 days, right? I'm just paying for the finished product. So you have to start thinking of yourself as the finished product. What is the product that they're paying you for? Yeah, a lot of us think we have to put in a certain amount of reps or publish a certain amount of books or do a certain amount of keynotes before we have authority. You have authority the moment you have some intellectual property or some skill that somebody else doesn't have. You don't have to have a John Maxwell certification. You don't have to have the Ziegler School of XYZ. And those men, love them, have mentored their organizations on launches. But you don't have to have that in order to have authority. We have been conditioned to go to school and get the grades and get the diploma and get the certifications and get the qualification and get the license. Speaking and writing and being listened to has nothing to do with any of that. And so you don't have to earn your price point. You choose your price point. And somebody said something about what the market will bear. Paul Baloney on that. You charge what you charge. I don't care what the market will bear. If they won't pay it, here's a thought. Ready? If they won't pay it, don't do it. If the person doesn't raise to meet your standards, is it a good idea to lower your standards? Never in the history of dating ever has that worked out well for anyone. So why would you do that for speaking or coaching or writing? You say, oh, but I don't want to miss this gig. Yes, you do. If they don't value you enough to invest in it, you want to miss out on that gig. Anything else is ego and vanity, and you just need to be heard. If they don't have the budget, they don't have the budget. So then you can recommend to find them a speaker that's in their budget, but they need to know that they're giving up some experience or excellence or something. But if you keep doing things that are in the bargain basement pricing, guess where you will stay? In that pricing. You don't raise your price just because you did 10 low price ones. It doesn't work like that. These aren't gaming levels. My first keynote was $2,500. My second keynote was $7,500. My third keynote was $12,500. And then they went 15 and more, like consecutively within a matter of weeks. I didn't deliver 100 in between that. It's just, that's what I charged because I had 4 little kids. I had a business at home. That's what it was going to cost to get me out of the house. That's what I felt like it would take for me to get there. And you say, oh, but Carrie, I just want to pay my bills or, get my feet wet. Nope. That just gets you soggy feet. Like, make some money. Who has bills? Raise your hand if you have a mortgage or a car payment or a child okay. So all of us have bills to pay. So negotiating down and discounting yourself, you do not want to be a coupon speaker or author or coach. Well, Carrie, that's easy for you to say because no, it's just truth. It's easy for me to say because it's truth. If they're consistently under budget, it's because you don't have a topic or a pain point or a deliverance that is findable and fundable. Write it down. Am I findable and fundable? When they're looking at the budget, whether it's a corporate, a church, or whatever, what's the line item in the budget? There's not usually a line item for happiness. There's not usually a line item for finding joy. There's not usually so you have to tie it to something tactable, findable, and fundable. Otherwise, guess what? They don't have the budget. It's a nice idea, but we don't have the budget. That sounds great, but we don't have the budget. Okay, you also don't have the speaker then, because my budget says I have to pay my bills. It does a disservice to the industry forever when you negotiate, when you discount, and when you speak for free. You are chopping off the legs of the people behind you. We owe it to the people that aren't bold enough to speak up for themselves, to speak up for ourselves. It doesn't make us vain. It doesn't make us bratty. It doesn't make us divas. We need to speak up and say, oh, that's unfortunate that you don't have the budget. Have you considered looking here? Have you considered a sponsor? Okay, well, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make that work. However, let me recommend a couple other people that might be more in your price range, although that's going to be tricky. Have you considered elevating your budget in order to match the professional level of speaker that your audience deserves? And some of y'all are scared to ask it because you haven't done enough speeches or because you haven't whatever. Don't be scared. Ask it. You'll level up. Somebody writes you a $12,500 check to get on a stage. Guess what? You get better. They just paid you $12,500. So when you charge more, guess what? You're worth more. When you present yourself as a professional, you can charge like a professional. So stop scraping for scraps. That's just not good for the whole profession, the whole industry, or your confidence.